when we turn around our country's economy, we have a better possibility of assuring energy security and sustaining what we've achieved from load shedding to segments of load reduction and the stabilization, continuing stabilization of that environment. We are looking forward to hearing what the President will say about challenges that have to do with water security. We are already seeing and are doing our utmost best through the work of those that we have deployed in government to ensure that we deal decisively with instances of water crisis in some parts of South Africa. We've isolated them. We've isolated municipalities that are not functioning well in terms of providing services to the people, particularly in the area of assuring water access and overall sanitation, and sanitation being dignity. And so we are looking forward to seeing what that has yielded. We want to hear about what has happened to the dam projects, to rebuild dams, to build reservoirs, to deal with the overall water recirculation challenge, and to have lasting solutions, and the science, of course, that we bring to all of those efforts of government. And we want to hear about projects, for example, such as Umzivubo Water Project, Kiani Water Project, Umkomazi Water Project. I could go on and on. Lots of which, if there's progress there, then science will tell us that our people are accessing water. More often than not, the problem of water has got to be disaggregated, so that we isolate those areas that have water challenges. And we're happy that our teams are on the ground everywhere in the country. Our teams are on the ground, even in the Northwest. Our teams are in the ground, continuing with the matters of Hammanskraal. On the ground in Johannesburg, you can see that when the Midrand challenge was raised, water is back in Midrand. And if there are any area in Midrand that is robbed of water, we look forward to getting that complaint using the relevant channels to communicate outstanding challenges. Yesterday, our team, led by the ministers, met with various communities in Gauteng. Even now, they're not here at the SONA. The President has instructed that they must camp there and make sure that we don't come back until communities access water.
We need to clamp down on corruption. We still have not crossed the market. We still have too many people chowing state funds and none of them are behind bars. That needs to change. We need to be able to effect lifestyle audits across board and make sure that there's consequences actually for people who are found with their hands in the cookie jar, the Republic's cookie jar. That's one. Two, in line with our ultimate goal of growing the economy, alleviating poverty and creating more jobs for people of the Republic, we need more infrastructure development. That means our ports and harbours need to work. Our rail and flights also need to work. The trickle effect of GDP growth there would benefit the country in a very healthy way. So we want to be able to see all of that. But also the State of the Nation address is also an opportunity for the President to tell the Republic what has happened in the past year since he last spoke. And confidently, as the Democratic Alliance, we're able to report back to the people of our country to say that in agriculture, we have increase our exports to Asian markets that has been able to see more money coming into our economy. In basic education, we have invested millions of rands into early childhood development to ensure that young minds are able to get the necessary attention to ensure that we increase our numeracy and literacy skills, so that by the time kids get to grade 4, they're able to read for meaning. And that when in agriculture, in public works and infrastructure, we're turning South Africa into a construction site. We have that infrastructure bank. The regionalization thereof is also going to help as well. And of course, smart IDs are now a thing of the future for everybody. We're now moving from smart to digital. You're able to walk into any bank and get your smart South African ID. So these are but a few examples of work that is healthy, good work that is being done in the GNU on the part of the Democratic Alliance, in line with our commitment to rescue South Africa.
I think they've found consensus on a privatization plan for state-owned enterprises, and I think water is going to be part and parcel of that. So what they do is they create a crisis, which is what they did with Eskom, which is what they did with Transnet. They collapse these state-owned enterprises, they collapse these state-run sectors of society, and then the only solution that is presented to us is privatization, and that is where we're going with water. The crisis we're seeing in Johannesburg is a man-made crisis. They failed to maintain the infrastructure there, and they've let it get to a crisis point so that the only solution is that we hand over the function of all of these state-owned state-owned enterprises, energy generation, railway net infrastructure, and now water is going to be run by the private sector, and people are going to pocket profits in that regard. So I think they've reached consensus in doing that. I don't foresee an impasse. There's rumors that there's going to be a proposed VAT increase for 2027. I want to see them try that, and of course we'll take them head on. We were in court yesterday for the fuel levy case. The matter has been set aside until I think later August or October this year, where we're going to discuss the merits of our case, where the fuel levy has been increased last year, because we think constitutionally the Minister of Finance should not have the unilateral power to increase fuel levy because it constitutes a tax. Crime was one of the priorities that he said he's going to focus on. He's established a commission of inquiry, which is chaired by Chief Justice Madlang, and then the recommendations of that inquiry has led to him establishing another task team to look into the recommendations of that inquiry. So you can see that there's no commitment to actually ever do anything. He's in a permanent consultative and inquiry phase. So I think one of the primary commitments that he made, which is to tackle crime, is something he's failing on. I mean, in his cabinet now, he says that Senzo Mkhono is his political burden to bear. Sadly, he's not. He's our political burden to bear. He's our financial burden to bear, because we're paying him a salary while he's on the sidelines of governance. We're paying for his protectors, we're paying for his lodging, and remains a minister in cabinet with all of these damning allegations against him. So his commitment seems to be far more to his cronies than to any commitment he's made specifically with crime. Our people are dying. Our people are dying of thirst. They're dying. They're not bathing in Johannesburg. Our people don't have electricity. They've replaced load shedding with load reduction. Nothing is really improving. So let's hear what he has to say tonight.
I think first he has to deal with the fundamental crisis. It's an economy growing at 1% a year. We need to take it to 3% to create the jobs we desperately need. We have an unemployment crisis, which is the greatest challenge as a country, of 42%. We don't expect miracles overnight, but we need to see unemployment falling by at least 1% every quarter to give hope to society. And I think for us the key things to doing that is to fix the state, to ensure the public service departments, be it education, be it home affairs, be it health, can deliver the goods that society, the economy, businesses, workers depend upon. It's about making sure that we have affordable electricity, and we must commend the work that Eskom has done to overcome load shedding. We need to build upon the turnaround of Transnet. It has improved, but we need to take it to full capacity. That creates jobs in mining, in manufacturing, and agriculture. Similarly, we need to address the mining rights application system to attract investment to the mining sector. We need to get Metro Rail fully operational as well, because that's key to transporting workers in our cities to work on time. There's a crisis of local government. It is a disaster.
Yes.
We need to see urgent interventions to stabilize and rebuild municipal services, including asking Eskom, SONA, the Department of Water and Sanitation, to assist in delivering basic services to recapacitated municipalities. We're not winning the war against crime and corruption, and we're not going to attract investment needed to grow the economy, to create jobs, if we're seen to be a lawless, violent, corruption-ridden society. So just like the President led us during COVID-19 with a Marshall Plan, mobilizing every possible resource and support from the private sector, the public sector, we need the same thing for the police, for the National Prosecuting Authority, for the judiciary. We have to win the war against crime and corruption. There's no worker in South Africa, no citizen in South Africa who has not experienced violent crime. So there has to be a priority. People will ask you, where will you get the money for this? And I think for us it's about giving more support to the South African Revenue Service, which has been one of the success stories of the President Ramaphosa administration. And give SARS more support to improve tax compliance, to generate the revenues that are owed to the state to fund public services.
State of the Nation address is both the ceremonial but also has content in terms of the statement by the President. The President in his State of the Nation will make a reflection of how he sees the situation in our country. What are the issues that are impacting the country in terms of its citizens that would relate to issues of the economy, issues of service delivery in terms of the performance of our local government sphere. He would also, in the same vein, reflect on the commitments made by government last year. How far have we gone? What are those challenges? He would also reflect on the region of which South Africa is part, both in terms of Southern African region, which is SADC, and the African Union. What are those issues that are impacting on our country? Also globally, what are the shifts that are having a positive and a negative impact that are happening global? So the State of the Nation takes all of those issues into consideration. Next week, and maybe this is where also our citizens must focus on, when parliamentarians engage with the statement of the President in terms of their own assessment on the work that they've done in terms of oversight, whether they share the same view with what the President would have said. Let me say that what happened last year actually enabled all of us as society to appreciate the budget process. You know, the important measure, in my view, is for all of us as citizens to look at the budget adjustment estimate which happens in November, because that sort of signals which direction will the budget go. It will tell you what are the issues that the Ministry of Finance and government are looking at, on what should be the priorities, but also what could be the other issues in the environment that needs to be taken on. So when that process finishes, it's now crunching of numbers on the allocation of the budget, looking at where the revenue will come from and what are the expenditures that have to be taken care of, both for the provinces in terms of the division of revenue and local government. And from where I said, I don't anticipate that we might have a problem that we had last year.